What is going on, YouTube? I am Prepper Princess, the author of Living on Almost Nothing. If you are interested in purchasing my book, I will leave a link in the description box below. Also, I updated my playlists. So if you are bored and you're cleaning the house or you're fixing your car or you're doing whatever, go ahead and pop it on the TV in the background and go ahead and give it a listen, and it'll last for hours and hours and hours. I thought that I might give you all my personal opinion on food banks and food stamps. So I can only give you my personal thoughts and feelings on this based on my own personal experiences. So let's start with food banks. So here in California, the food banks are basically like grocery stores. I mean, so how do I explain this? California has a law that every grocery store that is cycling through their product or doing whatever, they can't sell anything. It's illegal to throw it away. You have to donate it to a food bank. Now, our local food bank, I've looked at pictures. I've never actually been to the food bank itself, but the pictures show everything is fresh. And I'm talking tons of meat, fruit, vegetables, bread, dairy, that type of thing. There's not a lot in the way of canned goods, canned food, top ramen, potato chips, boxed cereals, and stuff like that. It's all fresh food. And they do an amazing job. They serve hundreds of families. They almost never run out of food, but they do sometimes. The first time we have a community page, I am always on there. I'm like a hawk. In October, for the first time in the food pantry's history, they ran out of food after serving over 100 families. And the food that they give out is a lot. They give out a lot. Now, I have never used a food bank, but I think that people should use them anyway. But I have shown up to what they also do. It's called a pop-up. I've shown up to the pop-ups. My intention was just to socialize because it's done through my church and I saw somebody that I knew. So my intention was to socialize, but that's not what happened when I got there. So a pop-up where I live, since we live on the northern part of the Central Valley where all of the growing in California is done, there is these times about once every week or two, maybe 2 weeks, all of the farms will have surplus that can't make it to market. So for whatever reason, the grocery store didn't buy it, or they overprocessed or whatever, didn't make it to market. So it's not even old enough to go into the grocery store yet, meaning it's all fresh. It's all bagged and perfectly done. So I don't know how they convinced me to do this. So I was over there socializing. Anyway, and as I was socializing, they filled up my e-bike, which is right there, because I was doing an e-bike. I wasn't doing a product review. I was doing a test ride, and it has baskets. They were filling my basket with this giant box of grapes, purple grapes or red grapes, whatever. I'm talking like a 20-pound box. So I come home and they put in cauliflower and spinach. And I was like, okay, cool. So I've got 2 things of cauliflower, 2 heads of spinach, and then a 20-pound box of grapes. Now, I don't know my neighbors' names for the most part. I only know one, but I know all the dogs' names. So I go over to Coco and Oso's house, and I give them a big giant bag of grapes. I go over to Macy's house, the dog, and I give them a bunch of grapes. I go down the street to Lulu's. I give Lulu's house a bunch of grapes. So I shared the grapes. Oh, and the cauliflower and spinach I also gave to Lulu's house. I kept 1 cauliflower, 1 spinach, and 1 bag of grapes. But anyway, these pop-ups, they come by the pallet. And there was actually a notice that just popped up on my community board. Hey, we're having a free pop-up, and he's panning with the camera, and that what happens is they keep them open for 3 hours while the church is open, and then they say first come, first serve, and it's, if nobody takes it, it's going to be thrown out. And what they were showing while they were panning was bread, gallons of milk. I saw fresh green peppers, tons of lettuces, He said they had a pallet of strawberries and a pallet of bananas. Think of all the fruit bowls you could make with that. That actually sounds really delicious, but I am on keto right now, so I can't eat fruit. And I still have cauliflower left, so I'm making some steaks and cauliflower for the next week. I'm good. But I have no problem going to the pop-ups, just because if I don't take something, they're gonna throw it away. So whatever. But I'm not gonna be one of those people that stores too much, because storing too much makes me bonkers. And I still have tons of fruit that I foraged or grew myself, and that was dehydrated, and now I have to put it into the dog food because I can't eat it, which is just awesome. Anyway, so when it comes to food stamps, here's a couple of things that I'm going to be completely honest with you, and I think that this is every taxpayer's perspective that is not on food stamps, or at least a huge majority of the taxpayers' point of view. Something has gone wrong. So for starters, let me just say that food stamps, back when they began in the 60s. They did not begin where it's just you get a free EBT card with $2,000 on it to spend whatever you want. It was, you would buy food stamps, like you would buy them for $100 and you would get $150 or $200 in food stamps back. So you still had to put something into it. You had to work a job to pay taxes to earn that $100, and then you'd take that $100 and you'd turn it in for food stamps and turn it into two. I think that social media, if you are on food stamps, stay off of social media with your business, unless you are buying totally responsible purchases and you're making videos about, here's how I responsibly used my food stamps this month. Now, that's not just the problem. The problem isn't just the welfare queens and the welfare mothers who are selling their food stamps for half price, taking the cash and buying alcohol and cigarettes. It is not the parents that are out there buying ho-hos and ding-dongs and potato chips and frozen pizzas and not buying real food. Real food is chicken or steak. It is fruits and vegetables, and learning how to cook with that. So we're a little bit pissed off that, I'm going to be honest, we are a little bit pissed off that we are making huge sacrifices. We are essentially being taxed without permission in order to pay for you to purchase your food. Now, let me say, of course, this isn't, there's going to be somebody in the comments who just turned the video off and left a comment before they heard this part. There are disabled, elderly, and children that, of course, I am not talking about them. Of course I'm not. I mean, come on. I get really pissed off when I see a welfare mother who has 6, 8, 9 kids bragging on social media about how much they get in food stamps and free housing and free cell phones and free computers and internet and all this, when you have an elderly person who couldn't qualify for disability, is getting $28 a month in food stamps. That's not fair. That's not cool. Okay. And you're getting your nails done and your hair did and all this other stuff. But this poor old lady who's a widow, like her husband just died, she has cancer, she can't get disability, like all these things. That's not cool. That's not fun. There's also the fact that children did not ask to be born into a family that is generational poverty. It's not their fault. What is their fault is if they do it as an adult. They just continue the cycle of the generational poverty. Now, I think it's pretty much every single school has breakfast and lunch programs for kids where they get free food. But the problem is that there is no fix to this completely broken system. There's no fix to it. We can't do food boxes where you only get this certain amount of food boxes, because let's be honest, people are going to be complaining about their dietary restrictions and their allergies, and their autistic son only eats this one thing and you can't tell me what to eat. Meanwhile, they're getting a handout. There's always going to be people that complain that it's not enough. There's always going to be people that complain about food pantries because they didn't get the food that they wanted. There's a negative, I think that the whole system needs to be rethought out and redone. Now, back when food stamps first started in the 60s, Section 8 wasn't even a thing yet. It didn't exist. So people who got food stamps had to be working because they had to have a place to live. Now, people have learned how to beat the system and not work for their entire lives. There was an interview I saw the other day with a lady from New Mexico who had been on food stamps in Section 8 for over 35 years. Anyway. And then when it does come to disabilities, when I think of a disability, I think of somebody who is so mentally disabled that they can't learn anything or they can't do anything. I think of people that are even people who are in wheelchairs, who don't have the use of their legs, but their brain and their arms work just fine. They can work desk jobs. I think of people who are basically like blind and deaf, who would find it extremely difficult to find a job, or people who have really bad ailments, cancer, lung problems, born with some sort of disease or terminal illness. It's not people who have asthma and I can't work because I have asthma. It's not people who say I have migraines, which can't be proven scientifically, by the way, but I have migraines, so I can't work. Or my back hurts, so I can't work. I don't think that those people should qualify for anything. Now, I have to speak from my personal experience. I know, I had to think about it last night. I know of exactly 5 families or people, 5, that have food stamps, Section 8, disability, all this other stuff. Of those 5 families or people, I want you to guess how many willingly admit to completely taking advantage of the system. Guess. 4. 4 people take full advantage of the system, and they are of working age, and there is nothing wrong with them. 4 out of 5, that's 80%. 80%. So I think that we are at a point in society where we have to be realistic about this. Be realistic, okay? And be logical. The majority, it is no longer the minority that are taking advantage of the system. It is the majority that are taking advantage of the system, and the minority are the ones who are not taking advantage of the system. Now, you have to remember also that food stamps, Section 8, all this stuff is meant to be as a safety net. Okay, now what is a safety net? A safety net is when you're working on a bridge, people have fallen and died, so they put up a safety net for you to fall in so that you don't fall down to your death. San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge, just saying. But those people that fall off of the bridge and fall into the net, they climb out of the net and they get back on the bridge. This net has now turned into a hammock where people fall into the net and they get comfortable and they say, hey, I don't have to work anymore. This is awesome. I can just live off of everybody else. And then they just stay there because they don't want to work. Now, these 5 families, I can give you several examples of the 4 it's 4 out of 5. The 5th one, totally legit. She needs all the stuff. One of them was I grew up with her. I'm not going to use her name. But I don't know how to say this. Okay. Her mother, she was a friend of mine when I was a little kid, her mother. So I would go and visit her house, and it was a 3-bed, I believe 1 bath in the Bay Area of California. And we almost never went to her house because it was so filthy. We would go and there was a 2-foot pile of garbage throughout the entire house. Complete filth. Hoarder situation, like the stuff you see in nightmares where CPS comes in and takes the kids out, right? Well, she was living in that, and she had a little brother. I never used the bathroom because there was mold coming out of the toilet and the shower, and it was disgusting. I'm pretty sure that like the refrigerator had its own ecosystem. Black stuff came out of the bottom of the refrigerator from the inside that was like rotted food. The mother had no mental issues, or it sounds like she did, but she didn't. Had no mental issues or dependencies or anything like that. She was just a welfare mother. And every time I saw her, she was in torn up clothes. Like she would take her clothes and then she would just like cut the sleeves off, and she would take her pants and she'd cut them into shorts. And she always just sat there and watched TV. Every time I saw her, she would sit there and watch TV. However, once every blue moon, some sort of social service would be coming in to check on them. And of course, they give them like 48, 72 hours notice. And I would go over to her house, and the house was spotless. It was immaculate. You could open the fridge and it was sparkling. You could go look in the bathroom and the toilet was the sparkle. You could eat off that toilet. Like, it was that clean. The house was just one of the cleanest houses I've ever seen in my life. And then her mother comes out dressed in a full suit, her hair done, her makeup on, ready to meet the social service person and tell them how responsible she is. And then within 3 days, the house would have 2 feet of trash again. It was the weirdest thing. Another family, husband and wife, they're married, have kid. And the husband, I don't know how to put this. He doesn't want to work. He doesn't want to. And when he does work, he will purposefully get hurt on the job and then collect disability, sue the company, and then start the process all over again. He'll collect that disability as long as he can legally collect it. As soon as he runs out, he goes out, he gets the job. Within a month, he gets injured on the job. Repeat the process over and over. When his wife complains, who, by the way, his wife is the one who goes out, works full-time, takes care of the daughter. When the wife complains enough and says, this isn't working out, I want a divorce, he'll say, fine, I'll just go move in with my mom. I'll never work again. And that way I'll never have to pay child support because I have no income. So she's kind of stuck with him. She's stuck with all this stress and taking care of it. Another, you know what, that's enough. That's just 2 out of the 4 examples, but you guys get where I'm getting with this. And I understand that there are people that need these systems, but you don't need to live off of them permanently. And also the people who are on the system, the system is set up for failure in a way where, let's say this person is on these benefits and then they get like a job promotion or a better position or a different job that's better. And then they're just immediately cut off. Like, just, oh, you got a new job, no more for you, all gone. We cut up your card. There's no dollars on it. Give them a little bit of slack. Like, if they've been, give them a few more months to have some food stamps so that they can at least save up enough and, budget correctly so that they can start paying for their own meals. It's just an entire system that needs to be completely burnt to the ground and restarted all over again with proper moral standards. Moral standards that effectively help people in need, but at the same time, don't allow people to take advantage of the system. And I personally do not have a solution. I don't know how to do it. I have no idea. Because every solution I come up with in my mind, it's like, well, what about these 10 situations that might be a gray area for what we just did? Or I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And you got to admit that if you think back in the 60s and 70s, it's like, how did these people keep a roof over their head? And they were able to, so destruction of the family. Like, the government, I guess, I don't know if it's the government, just some sort of entity, bad juju in the air, I don't know, made it so that it was more beneficial for the man not to be in the home and the woman to collect welfare, or just not get married to the man, collect the welfare, and then the husband moves in and then they can have all their fancy cars and get their hair did and all that good stuff. I don't know. I have no solution. If you have the solution, put it in the comment section and I will tell you I've gone through this in my head a million times. I will go over your comment and I will look at it and be like, what about these 10 different things that could go wrong with that idea? All right, folks, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I do say that food stamps, I think, should go bye-bye, but in 80% of the situations, but there's that other 20%. And food banks, if you live in California, use them. Even if you are still able to pay your bills and you're still able to pay these high grocery prices, but you're still not quite able to get ahead, I would say use the food pantry in order to get ahead, or the food bank to get ahead. And then once you're ahead, then start paying for your own groceries. Because here in California, it's just like, at least where I live, it's just like food is totally abundant. Do which can of flute you've got. Prepper Princess out. In Nala. Can you say, wait, hold on. We're going to teach. Hey, I love you. I love you. You're so stinking cute. Oh, I love you. Ah, kisses.